Hello, everybody, and welcome to our HPSS podcast. Today we have a new guest that I'm not going to announce. He's going to introduce himself. Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
So can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. My name is Loren Russell. I am a native Nashvilleian and a proud TSU alumni. I currently work at Senior Living, and I'm glad to be here.
So you said that you're a TSU alumni. So what was your major when you were here?
Psychology, and I teach psychology here now.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Were you an athlete maybe or not?
Not an athlete, no.
Okay.
Thought I was going to be. Then I realized, ooh, they good.
So since you started with psychology, how did you, where did you find the wish to help the seniors?
Well, I was working in mental health, and we would have a lot of seniors come in, and their conditions would kind of be different than other typical conditions. And so I started working closely with some of the community mental health centers that focused on aging adults. And I kind of gravitated to it, and the people, like, Laura Willow, we would all get old one day, and just seeing the need in that environment. And I saw an opportunity come open at one of the local assisted livings, and I applied for it, and I've been in love with it ever since.
Wow. That is so nice to hear. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the more prominent mental health issues that you see within the seniors or even anybody that you work with?
Well, with seniors, of course, you have a lot of dementia and Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, urinary tract infections drive a lot of mental health issues, especially in aging adults. Mm-hmm. So, but dementia, Alzheimer's, and some urinary tract infections, and inactivity. Inactivity will cause a lot of conditions: mental, physical, spiritual, social. So we try to have as many physical activities and just engaging activities as we can for our seniors.
That's good. Good. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got into it and why you chose to stay where you are now?
Well, I got into it, again, I was working with, kind of volunteering with some of the local aging communities. And in the mental health facility I was in, I really enjoy mental health. It's a passion as a consumer of mental health services, and having worked, so I kind of seen both sides of it and understand the need for it. And society's kind of coming around now and appreciating, depression can be debilitating, anxiety can be debilitating, and all of these things, but historically it hasn't necessarily been that open to it. So I was working in the state mental health hospital. In my church, we actually own the assisted living that I work at. And so, church is home. And so there was a need at the church. I felt like I could feel that need. I will be, at some point, transitioning back into more specific mental health type of organizations. But in that moment, I felt like it was a good time for me to help an agency that's helped me a lot.
Good. I know you talked about not being an athlete per se. How did you feel that this would end up being the career that you chose?
Well, so interestingly, I played high school basketball with your current coach, men's coach. So me and Penny played together. And our high school was pretty good, especially during that time. They've retired to prominence now. So everybody thought we were going to play somewhere, even those of us. I was never one of the 5 best players on our team.
Right.
But our team was good, so you felt like you were good too.
Yeah.
Got to college and saw what good really looked like and decided it was time to go to class. And I just kind of bounced. I bounced from major to major, and I picked up a job at a place called Heritage Hall, which is an inpatient youth and adolescent behavior modification program. Mm-hmm. And I saw what the counselors were doing there, what the program was doing, its aims and purposes, and I kind of aligned myself with that. And it felt like the first step in there would be psychology. Should have done social work. Yeah. Social work is such an amazing field, and it's so broad, whereas psychology is kind of more narrow. But yeah, just mental health in general, and wanting to work with youth.
Okay, just another question deeper into you. Do you feel like bouncing between those majors at such a time as college really affected your mental health?
It did. Especially when you look at, feel like you're really getting closer to graduating.
Yeah.
So you've done 2 or 3 classes, and you look, and maybe one of them will count as an elective, but when you switch over, it's like starting over. So I actually didn't graduate when I first came. So I came to TSU, stayed for a few semesters and dropped out, went to the military, came back, and finally decided to finish.
That's good. That's really inspirational.
So you were saying that when you were looking the inpatient and the psychology and what they were doing, and that you aligned yourself with them. So what were the specific things that you saw that they're doing?
A lot of it was the compassion. In general, society is so competitive, right? Which is one of the things that drive America. We're very competitive as a country, very competitive as citizens. But sometimes I think we kind of confuse these spaces to be competitive in and fail to transition to more support roles. So when I went there, it was actually my first time seeing an agency completely designed, I guess outside of church, but an actual company designed for support, growth, and development, and just setting people who have kind of swayed back on a path to success. And again, having gone to college and not finished, so kind of just knowing what it kind of feels like to need that guidance and support sometimes, it was attractive.
Since you mentioned that you're also a professor on the university and you know that support is needed, how do you treat your students? Do you represent yourself as their friend or a mentor or authority? Like, what is your approach to the classes?
I don't know if I present myself as any of those things. Every class and every student kind of have their own dynamics, and they're more organic. Probably too lenient at times. I do take work after it was due at times, but it is also refreshing to have students say, I'm having this problem. I've stopped taking my medication, or I'm just now having this feeling. So I had the opportunity this semester to actually link up one of my students with the psychology and counseling services here through our dean, and they connected her to the counseling services. So, and afterwards she said it was good. They got back to her. Had some of her sessions scheduled, and just getting back on the road to helpiness and happiness. So, as a mental health professional in a helping profession, my number one goal is always to support people. So whether that's the seniors where I work now, going back into more inpatient, outpatient mental health, or as an adjunct here, my primary role is to be supportive.
So also you were a guest at some of our classes as well. So can you tell us something about the collaboration with HPSS department?
Sure. So so we are, like I said, owned and operated by the Straight Lane Church of Christ. So we do believe that divine intervention exists. So one day I was at work and Dr. Jason Smith just kind of popped in and said he had been driving by and wondered, what we did, if there was any room for collaboration. And he had mentioned that he was an instructor with the HPSS department at TSU. So we just kind of talked about a few things here and there. And eventually it developed into where once a month or more, he brings different athletes, different members of the HPSS department over to do a program, like a bingo exercise program. And I don't know if you've spent any time in senior homes or anything like that, but bingo is like striking gold. Like they play bingo for hours.
Art. For some reason.
Bingo and art.
I love doing art.
I think the art is the creative piece, but it's at their own pace. And I don't know what it is about bingo. I don't know if it's prizes, because the prizes, like, we don't have great prizes, but they just love bingo.
Yeah.
But they definitely love the new faces that come from the HPSS department. The energy that comes, like athletes and coaches and the teachers just bring, you can feel it when they're there. It's just something different. It's a new group of people, new set of smiling faces, and the patience that they show, because typically we'll have one or two of the HPSS department per resident. So sometimes a resident will have their own person, or they may share one, but it's just a time for them to feel loved on, and they just enjoy seeing the youth in the building.
So are you taking care of only one home for the seniors, or several of them?
I have one assisted living and an independent living center, which is senior apartments, right? So mostly what we do for them is security and keep the grounds up and, make sure it's appealing. And if they have maintenance issues or security issues, we take care of that. So we do have that building as well. So we have management of both of those, but my primary focus is the assisted living center. But our independent center does also meet with the HPSS group, and they're a little more active, and it is always a good thing to watch.
So how did you even came up to idea to bring the athletes to the senior homes? I mean, that's such a great idea, because I remember when my grandma used to see me bringing my friends over at our home, she was like, I love when they come because you're bringing youth and smiles to me and good energy. So how did you came up to that idea?
I was lucky to have Jason Smith as my partner. Dr. Smith was my partner. That was actually his idea. He was just discussing, the model of TSU, Think, Work, Serve, and what are we doing to serve. And one of the populations that he felt could be served was the senior population. And we were right next door. And, most of our residents, at least 50%, graduated from TSU. So there's kind of an ingrained partnership there already. So he felt one of the things that they could do is give more to the community, and why not start next door? So they kind of fell in our lap, which was a huge blessing for us.
And were you thinking about expanding that to other departments and to other students?
So we are working on expanding to other departments here, physical therapy, occupational therapy, dentistry, etc. And for me, it's a huge win. We have some residents that don't like to go out and things like that. So any services I can get brought to them, especially for a reasonably financial price, is a win. Again, then we talk about just the new faces and the new interactions, which keep, the brain working, and happy people live longer. Healthy people, of course, live longer, but happy people live longer. So on that end of the spectrum, widening it to other departments here is a no-brainer. As far as HPSS going to other senior homes and things like that, other nursing homes, I think it's an opportunity that should be seized. I have not heard of any other college intentionally coming into senior homes, intentionally coming into nursing homes, just to spend time with people on a regular basis. Some of our fraternities and sororities come in for volunteer hours, but that's kind of intermittent. Same thing with a lot of other volunteer systems, but this one is actually on our schedule. We know when they're coming. Our residents look forward to it. Our staff look forward to it. Resident families sometimes come and sit in and watch just to see the person liven up. So, if they have the bandwidth, I think they should give it a shot.
Will you be willing to, for example, go to Lipscomb University and ask their athletes to come and join your senior homes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if those conversations happen, and again, not to overuse the term, but more organically, so to seek out that type of volunteerism is kind of different than people actually seeking out to volunteer. So I think that as many sports teams and youth in general that we can get into our building and with our seniors and just spending that time is a win. But how that comes about and making sure that it's something that someone actually wants to do opposed to feeling more obligated to do it and things like that, which was, again, why the situation with the HPSS department of TSU is so perfect. It was something that the department was looking to do. And coming out of COVID and realize we're going to have to live with COVID and find ways to mitigate risk while still keeping activities and things going. They just kind of blended in so well together, and it's been a great partnership.
So what would be some other objectives that you're trying to reach in the future?
So for our senior home, one of our objectives is definitely to continue to grow our community partnerships. Community partnerships are huge. Our residents are largely from this area, and they often see people that they've known throughout their lives, and they just have different personalities to interact with. Really nailing down useful brain activities. So we do try to incorporate the 5 pillars of brain health into our activities, but it is an actual discipline, and seeking out people who are actually trained classically trained, and that we read it and we do the best we can. But just growing the programs, growing the opportunities our seniors have to be active with each other and with new people, and just extending life through happiness and healthy living.
To piggyback off of extending everything that you're doing and the discipline aspect, do you see yourself continuing to be a professor here at TSU, or how do you see yourself balancing everything that you would like to do in the future?
So maybe in the future, I would look at not being an adjunct and just coming on as a professor. But I enjoy the mental health roles and helping roles a little too much right now to kind of settle into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I do think eventually I would transition back into more specific mental health environments. But I'm having a blast right now with our seniors and just learning that environment, learning that discipline, kind of figuring out what moves the needle, what they really like, and what actually drives success in that market and with that population.
Thank you so much for coming. That was very great and informative, and I really hope that we're going to continue this nice culture that we're doing and that you're doing with us. So thank you one more time for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
We did just get the MOU signed, so I think we're growing.
Okay, perfect then.
Thank you.
Thank you.